I'm Dwayne Brown. Tonight on KPBS Evening Edition, one San Diego congressman is supporting U.S. military action in Syria. Coming up, where the rest of San Diego's congressional delegation stands.
I'm Peggy Pico. The race to replace San Diego's mayor is underway. Who's in, who's out, and how this election will be different than the last. Plus, a closer look at California's dueling plans to reduce the state's prison population by nearly 10,000 inmates by the end of the year.
Miramar Air Show is going on with or without the Blue Angels. How San Diego leaders are trying to drum up support. KPBS Evening Edition starts now. Good evening. Thanks for joining us. San Diego's 5 congressional members are weighing the prospects and consequences of military action in Syria. As KPBS reporter Susan Murphy tells us, so far Congressman Juan Vargas is the only one fully backing President Obama's call for a military response.
Speaking from the steps of San Diego's downtown Hall of Justice, Democratic Congressman Juan Vargas this morning urged his constituents and congressional colleagues to join him in supporting U.S. military action against the Syrian regime. Vargas sits on the House Committee on Foreign Affairs. He returned last night from his second trip in a week to Washington, where he attended more classified intelligence briefings. Vargas said the evidence is clear that the Syrian regime killed hundreds of innocent children and civilians with gas.
That they did it on purpose, it was not an accident, and unfortunately was actually very successful.
Before his latest trip, Vargas says he met with a small San Diego veterans group. He says the veterans asked him to ask Secretary of State John Kerry and Secretary of Defense Chuck Hagel this question.
Do you promise that what you've told us is true? That the information that you've given to us in a classified form, that it's true? And both Secretary Kerry and Secretary Hagel both promised that in fact it is true. And the reason that's important, because last time we were lied to. And I think the American public understands that.
San Diego's 4 other congressional representatives remain undecided on how to move forward with Syria. Republican Darrell Issa says that to earn his vote for military action, the president must present a clear plan focused on effective humanitarian intervention and national security interests. Democrat Susan Davis says making her decision will take thoughtful and cautious deliberation. Democrat Scott Peters says he looks forward to attending classified briefings and in the meantime is monitoring comments from his constituents. Republican Duncan Hunter says he's uncertain about Obama's strategy. He recently visited the Syria-Jordan border and is calling for the U.S. to train and funnel small arms to the Free Syrian Army. Congress is scheduled to reconvene in Washington on September 9th. Susan Murphy, KPBS News.
The list of candidates joining the race for San Diego mayor keeps growing. City Councilman David Alvarez, the latest candidate to file his intent to run. He made his announcement via Twitter saying, quote, San Diego needs a mayor who cares about the future of working families in all of our neighborhoods, end quote. There are at least 20 people vying for the job of mayor. Peggy Pico finds out how the special election is shaping up.
On November 19th, San Diegans will vote in a special election to decide who will replace Mayor Bob Filner. Candidates have until September 20th to file their intent to run. Here with some insight on what to expect in this race are political science professors Brian Adams and Carl Luna. Welcome back.
Good to be here.
Good to be here.
Brian, tell us about the essentials for a candidate in a short race like this. What do they need?
Well, the first thing they need to do is raise a lot of money in a very short period of time. They need to use that money to increase their name recognition, get their face out there to voters, get an early start, and they need to line up supporters, interest groups as well, and also to work on a get out the vote drive. Because there's a very short period of time, you've got to start doing that right away. In particular for the Democratic candidates, typically in special elections, Democratic turnout is lower.
Okay, and going on with this, when it comes to following the Filner scandal, what do you think, Carl, that voters will be looking for in particular candidates?
They're going to want a candidate who they'd like to see on their TV for the next few years, who's not going to be prone to scandal. They don't not going to want another hugger. They're going to want somebody who seems competent in the job but has a good personality, and the personality you bring to the table early on in the campaign will largely be the one you're measured on.
And following up on that, David Alvarez just tossed his name in the hat today to run for candidacy. What is this going to do to the race?
Well, it changes the dynamic entirely. Mike Aguirre had thrown his name into the hat, or a hat into the ring, as they say, and that was going to be a minor impact, maybe throw you into a runoff. But David Alvarez could significantly cut into Nathan Fletcher's vote. There's even, if Mr. Faulkner targets Mr. Fletcher for his negative ads, David Alvarez could beat him and end up going into the runoff campaign, which could give the Republicans a major advantage.
And Brian, Nathan Fletcher was the first to announce his candidacy. What do you think his strengths are with the voters?
Well, I think he has some name recognition because he ran for mayor previously, and he's lining up a lot of support. He's going to be very well funded. I think the big problem he's going to have is with trying to convince voters he's not a political opportunist. That, he switched parties. He was recently a Republican, then became an independent, and now he's a Democrat, and trying to convince voters that he's really doing that because he's really had a change of opinion, or the party has left him, as he has said, rather than that he's simply being a political opportunist and he's doing it to gain political advantage.
There's a little bit of convincing to do in a short amount of time.
Yes,
okay,
absolutely.
and Carl, what about Councilman Faulkner now? He's one of the Republican candidates. What do you see his strengths are in this race?
Yeah, he is the de facto Republican candidate. The party has surrounded him. Carl DeMaio decided not to run. That's his major strength. He's got a unified Republican base to draw on, the money, power, and the voter turnout that comes with that. His difficulties is he's a council member who doesn't necessarily stand out from the council outside of his district. He got some name recognition with the mayoral debacle being the one who helped in mediation, but he's going to have to introduce himself to San Diegans, and in a short election, that's a difficult challenge.
Let's talk about women, or the lack thereof. Start with you, Brian. There's one woman so far who has her name. She's filed papers. She's a CPA who works from home. But so far, not a whole lot of women. Are you surprised by that?
Yes, I'm actually very surprised because given the context of this election, you think female candidates would have a slight advantage in terms of what happened with Filner and everything else. And there are a number of prominent female Democrats who could potentially run, but so far they've all decided not to.
Yeah, and let's talk about that, Carl. So Lori Saldana, who else might put their names in the hat?
Well, people were wondering if Donna Fry would try to run again, but
no.
that seems highly unlikely. And she said no, and she's not going to change her mind. She's done with politics. She's in public service. People were wondering about Toni Atkins, but she's got a great deal going in Sacramento. She's going to be Speaker of the Assembly one day, possibly. Then she's looking at state Senate, national Senate. You don't come back to local dinner theater when you're looking at a statewide or national venue.
Let's talk about also who's not running and going with this. Brian, Carl DeMaio opted out. That surprised a lot of people. What's your take on that?
Well, I think he was weighing whether it would be better for his political career to run for Congress or to run for mayor again. I think he decided after consulting with the Republican Party and his political supporters that it makes more sense for him to run to Congress. I think he probably has a better shot at winning the congressional seat, depending on the political wins, than he does for running for mayor.
And he lost one race already, if that's not an indicator.
And losing the same race twice isn't particularly good for your political career.
For long term. And Carl, what about Todd Gloria? He declined to run as well. What do you think that's about?
I think Councilman Gloria, Council President Gloria, likes the position he has as Council President and acting mayor. It'll get him a lot of name recognition without a lot of risk. He'll be able to pursue an agenda, build his base, and he's a candidate for the next mayor's race or the race after that and other potential statewide offices.
Well, last year at this time, not even quite last year at this time, voters were inundated with campaign flyers, with robocalls, TV ads, really intense TV ads. Do you think that's going to happen again?
It might, depending on whether the Democratic Party, the Republican Party, and their allies are willing to put in the money to actually make this, to really spend a lot of money on this race. It's unclear whether they will or not. Clearly they did last time. And I'm not sure whether they're going to decide they're going to put in a ton of money now or whether they're just going to wait in 3 years and then make that the big race.
Well, we will certainly see, and we'll be talking to you both again, I'm sure, about this. Political science professors Carl Luna and Brian Adams, thank you so much.
Thank you.
An illegal fire is to blame for a massive wildfire burning in and around Yosemite National Park. Forest Service says a hunter set an illegal fire in the area and allowed it to escape. There's no indication he was involved with marijuana cultivation, which had been suspected as a possible cause. No arrests have been made. The rimfire now 80% contained. California inmates ended their hunger strike today for nearly 2 months. Inmates were protesting prison conditions, including the practice of long-term solitary confinement. The strike ended after 2 Democratic lawmakers promised to hold hearings on inmate complaints. California might speed up its transition to new online exams for public school students. KPBS education reporter Kyla Calvert joins us from the News Center with more details. These online exams are different from standardized tests students have been taking all along.
Instead of taking those multiple choice tests that we all remember where you fill in the answer bubbles on the Scantron sheets, these tests are internet-based. They include some open answer questions where students have to write responses to questions and use evidence from passages they've read or videos they've watched as part of the test. So these new exams are based on the Common Core standards schools are starting to phase in this year. The old standards were more focused on students knowing facts and figures, and under the new standards, teachers will spend more time on fewer topics to give students deeper understanding, and they'll focus on teaching the skills students need to solve problems.
Yeah, Common Core standards. We'll be hearing that quite a bit moving
That's
forward.
right.
Yeah. So how does the state want to actually change or roll out these tests?
The state's original plan was to try out these new exams in about 20% of schools this coming spring, and to suspend some of those multiple choice tests that aren't required under federal law. And a new bill sponsored by the state's school superintendent would end nearly all of the multiple choice tests this year, and it would also let all schools opt into field testing the online exams this spring. And he says this change would help teachers and students be prepared when the new tests start to count for school accountability in 2015. But the earlier shift also means there will be 2 years when the state and school districts won't have comparable test scores to look at to gauge how schools are progressing.
KPBS education reporter Kyla Calvert. Bob Filner has gone from the mayor's office, and we no longer are hearing about a new accuser coming forward with claims of sexual harassment every day or week. But what about the women who did? KPBS Metro reporter Sandia Dirks explores with some of them what it ultimately meant to speak out.
The women who stepped forward to accuse former Mayor Bob Filner of unwanted sexual advances stepped into a harsh media spotlight. They were targets of a hungry media, anxious for every salacious detail. They were targets in other ways as well, with people accusing them of ulterior motives, self-aggrandizement, greed, or certain political leanings. The implication was clear. They were selling their stories in the marketplace of a media frenzy. Let's start with the day Filner resigned, at a city council meeting where Filner backers spoke up for him.
¿Quién les pagó? ¿Por qué lo hacen hasta ahorita?
If we know that the laws are very delicate for sexual harassment, why did they wait so long? Who paid them off? Why did they make these accusations now?
I was brought up to be a strong woman and to immediately put a man in check if he was getting out of hand, not to wait and jump on a political bandwagon.
Here's Filner accuser Peggy Shannon responding to those critics.
I made a conscious decision not to talk. I just wanted to sit back here and listen. They've heard me. They've seen what I had to say. So I didn't want to, to be perfectly honest, I didn't want to be booed.
Laura Fink did speak at that meeting.
This call has been universal among the victims of his reprehensible acts.
I asked her and Peggy Shannon and Morgan Rose, women who had all gone public, why they didn't come forward sooner. And I wanted to find out what actually happened after they did.
Why women don't come forward is because they understand the disparity in power. I think they also believe that they'll be dismissed, that their character will be attacked, or that they won't be believed, and all of those things happen to me.
You can be very vulnerable to crucifixion and character assassination by people who have never, ever spent a minute with you. And so that happened, and that's okay. That's not the important part.
There were reporters yelling into my apartment, yelling my name, bothering my neighbors, banging on the door. It was frightening. I just didn't realize how intense the coverage was going to be and how immediately.
One of the main reasons I didn't come forward when this happened in 2009, he was a congressman. He already had my home phone number. He'd called me at home. He'd requested that private meeting. he could get my social security number, my home address, my place of work. So no, I was not going to come forward at that point.
We look at this situation and there's strength in numbers. I imagine what it would be like if I was the only one coming out. And people ask these questions. Why didn't you come out sooner? Why didn't you come out during the campaign? You as an individual, as a person, have to do a calculus as to whether your coming forward will be effective and impactful and believed. And in those situations, I feel that I probably would have been really eviscerated and my motives would have been questioned far more than they were in this situation.
Any woman in this position, in this kind of drama, we're in a lose-lose situation often. But with us all coming forward, that theme, that pattern became so evident that people that might not have believed our stories initially or thought it was for political reasons had to start admitting, no, maybe we have something here.
You lose a part of yourself because you have to be so serious. I mean, I traffic in gallows humor, and I'm, a little bit nutty, and I'm slightly sarcastic, and I actually enjoy talking about, you have one side of you that is constantly sort of shown, and it would be inappropriate to laugh or smile during these things, but it's a part of you that you're not you don't get to exhibit.
I didn't ever want something like this to become part of my story. But by coming out, it's now my story. It's a part of my life. So there was that sacrifice I made. But I wouldn't go back. I wouldn't recant anything I said. The more we speak out, the more power we have.
The response of women coming forward and telling me their stories was almost universal. Reporters, people in public, people who I didn't know, people who I did know, all told me stories of sexual harassment. It was frightening how pervasive this behavior is across the board. And so this wasn't just because you can abuse power when you have less of it. And it took me aback because I thought, is this the world that we're leaving to our daughters, where sexual harassment is a rite of passage, where it's rare if it doesn't happen to you? And it's just extraordinarily upsetting. So, we hope we can change that.
The women who came forward say it isn't even so much about them. It's about the women who couldn't come forward. And they say it isn't even about Bob Filner. It's about a culture of sexual harassment that permeates every sector of our society. A culture that can only be stopped by women speaking out. Speaking out can carry a heavy price. But these women say that not speaking costs a lot more. Sandhya Dirks, KPBS News.
California faces another court-ordered deadline to reduce its prison population. Peggy Pico explains the debate over dueling plans to reduce overcrowding.
California is under a federal court order to reduce its prison population by nearly 10,000 inmates by the end of this year. But state lawmakers are at odds at how to reach that mandate. Joining me with more on the issues are San Diego County's Chief of Probation, Mac Jenkins, and Margaret Dooley Samueli with the ACLU of San Diego and Imperial Counties. Welcome. Mac, let's start with you. Now, you support the governor's plan. Tell us why, how that plan could reach this mandate.
What the plan does is it allows the state to reduce its prison population without any early releases. And in essence, what it does is it finds another location for these inmates to be housed in other jail beds in the state, out-of-state beds, and also with private beds.
Okay, but Margaret, the ACLU is a critic of Governor Brown's plan. How come?
It proposes spending $1 billion over the next 3 years to continue warehousing people rather than making the perhaps politically more challenging but really important choices about how we are going to solve this prison overcrowding crisis in the long run. That means long-term, durable solutions, not just good money after bad into a broken prison system.
Well, I want to address this to Mac because already under realignment, 20,000 low offender prisoners have been transferred into the county's care and jails throughout the state. Why not use that same formula for reducing the next 10,000 inmates or nearly thereof?
also, right now, the state has to meet the deadline to get to the prison population by December 31st. So this plan does so in a way that doesn't compromise community safety, but it also doesn't sacrifice the ongoing efforts to put in place infrastructure and steps to continue to improve outcomes for the people that are going to prison in the first place. Things like $100 million from this SB 678 plan goes to probation departments up and down the state to continue what has already been successful efforts in improving outcomes for people that are on probation.
No, Margaret, this plan, also the money that you're talking about, tell us why you think that money could be, or where it could be better spent.
We're talking about, $1 billion over 3 years, potentially on prison beds. Every dollar we spend there, we're not spending to actually rehabilitate inmates, to prevent crime in the first place, or to invest in other priorities of the community, like education and health care. So there's no shortage of other ideas and other needs for these dollars. So the question is, how can we effectively and cost-effectively solve the prison overcrowding crisis in a way that's safe for the community? And the answer is, this frame that it's either, that there's a dangerous option or there's an expensive option. That's simply not true.
You think there's an alternative? I want to talk about one of theirs now. State Senate President Pro Tem Darrell Steinberg, he offered an alternative plan, a bill that would give hundreds of millions of dollars to counties to invest in counseling and treatment programs for offenders to reduce recidivism. So what do you think about that plan?
There is certainly much to commend about Senator Steinberg's proposal. He's acknowledging and proposing long-term solutions that invest. Yes, it takes investment, but it's investment in crime prevention. Those are all positive suggestions. That plan doesn't go far enough. So we support those proposals, but we urge the state to continue to implement the kind of safe reductions in the prison population that it has committed to already, and that it knows that it can implement safely.
I want to ask Mac, I want to have you follow up on that. What do you think of Steinberg's plan?
Well, the question about Steinberg's plans is we don't know its cost because it involves us entering into an agreement with the plaintiffs who have been suing the state. We don't know the full impact of what that agreement actually involves. And additionally, the money that Senator Steinberg makes available, I certainly laud and appreciate Senator Steinberg's efforts to try and come up with an innovative solution. But the money that he talks about making available does not come to probation departments. It's not like the funds that probation departments have earned through SB 678, where we've actually proven success with. We don't know how that those funds will go to the same types of things that have been successful under the SB 678 plan. So there are too many unanswered questions with Senator Steinberg's plan.
Okay, and Mac, what do you think as far as the realignment, how has the effect so far that's happened, and I know this is slightly different, how has that affected anything here in San Diego? What's the situation been? Would you say it's successful?
Well, I would tell you that I won't necessarily use the word successful, but the San Diego County criminal justice community, and that includes DA Bonnie DeMonis, Sheriff Bill Gore, the court, and local law enforcement, have continued their collaboration in the implementation of San Diego County's realignment plan. So we've been focused on community safety. We feel like we are doing everything to keep the community safe while at the same time trying to improve the outcomes of the offenders that have been shifted to the county's responsibility. So at this point, we're making good progress along that plan.
Okay, thank you. And Margaret, I want to end with this. Basically, what would you like to see happen in order to meet this mandate? Has to be met by the end of December. What would you like to see happen?
The state of California submitted a plan to the court for meeting the target population by December 31st. That plan has been vetted by experts. It would allow for a case-by-case review of inmates who are eligible and appropriate for parole. It would also incentivize participation in rehabilitation programming, allowing some appropriate inmates to earn their release by good behavior and rehabilitation. That's exactly the kind of solution that's going to get us safer communities, get us to the target that the court has imposed, and this is already, the state has agreed to do this.
Okay.
It should do it.
All righty, we will continue to follow the story. Margaret Dooley Samueli and Mac Jenkins, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
San Diego civic leaders are trying to rally support for a stripped-down version of the Miramar Air Show next month. KPBS business and environment reporter Eric Anderson has the story.
The air show has attracted as many as 500,000 people to San Diego, but this year's event is missing some major components. Defense Department budget cuts mean there will be no military flybys, and that means no Blue Angels. Interim Mayor Todd Gloria says that shouldn't ground enthusiasm for the event.
By coming out to the air show, not only are you going to have a great time with family and friends, but you're also making a statement that you want the air show to continue. And I know that our friends in Washington, D.C. will hear that message loud and clear.
Gloria says the air show also gives people a chance to focus on the good things happening in San Diego. Airplanes are the big attraction, the big draw for people coming into town for the air show. But what economists look at during an event like this is the dollars, how much money is generated.
But the air show is one of those things where the community is very proud of it and they gather together around it. But people travel. They travel to see that. They come to San Diego and they want to be part of it. They're veterans themselves. They served at Miramar at one point in time.
Once visitors come to town, they typically spend time and money to experience other parts of the city. Cafferty says innovation, tourism, and the military are three sectors that drive growth in San Diego's economy. The air show actually brings two of those together. Eric Anderson, KPBS News.
You can find all of tonight's stories at kpbs.org/evening edition. Thanks for joining us. Good night.